Hey everybody, welcome back to an episode of the Canucks News and Rumours. I'm Jacob Billington, joined with Matthew Zator. How you doing today, Matthew?
Doing good. It's been a whirlwind of of stuff in the last couple days, but yeah, doing good.
So the biggest news, getting right into everything, is Quinn Hughes has been traded. You spoke with Mariah already on the YouTube channel, so make sure to go check that out if you want Matthew's first impressions on the trade. Just gave you kind of quick thoughts on it right away. Now, you've been lucky enough to see Zeev Buium, Marco Rossi, and Liam Ohgren make their debut. I think the whole the best way to sum this trade up was a tweet by Dylan Laux. Sorry if I mispronounced that, but he had a tweet out today that said, just to recap, Liam Ohgren draws a penalty, Marco Rossi wins the draw on the power play, and Zeev Buium scores. I think the Canucks will be okay. So shout out to him for that tweet. What are your thoughts on their debuts? We can take this one at a time. We can start with Zeev Buium. What'd you think about him?
Well, very impressed by him. Of course, on the score sheet, he's had 2 points, a goal and an assist. The goal was deflected off Brendan Dillon, but he was putting a pass in there. You get it to around the net. You never know what'll happen, and it'll go in. It might go in. It did. And then the secondary assist on his first point with the Canucks on the power play, both points on the power play. And most of his points this season have actually come on the power play too, which is, seems to be a bit of a power play specialist early on in his career. I was impressed by his skating, his ability to pretty much do Quinn Hughes type things, moving the puck through the neutral zone, out of his own zone. I saw one play where if I didn't know any better, that was Quinn Hughes, same type of play, making a quick move in the corner, getting away from pressure and just skating it up the ice. And that's Hughes does that all the time. So it's very encouraging to see that in his first game. And there's always usually Philip Hedl had a goal. I believe he scored in his debut. A lot of the time, when you look back in history, a lot of the time it's new guys get points in the first games. But it is very encouraging to see Buium. I was impressed. The thing, and even his interviews, and it's a tough situation coming into a team when you're having to quote unquote replace Quinn Hughes, because he's a very similar type defenseman. And he said, "Well, I just want to create my own story." And of course, he knows he's going to be connected to Hughes for his whole career now. That he was the guy that was the main centerpiece of the trade. And yeah, but so far, very early, of course, looks pretty good. Top power play unit, played second pairing, and played a lot in this first game too.
Yeah, and with a trade like when you're moving Quinn Hughes, you have to get some sort of replacement for that role. Doesn't necessarily have to be the same caliber player. That's not how it works. But you need to get somebody to fill in that role. And Buium makes a ton of sense. You look at the other teams that were in the mix. For Detroit, that would have had to have been Simon Edvinsson, I suppose. He would fit that role fairly well, I think. Buium maybe a better fit, but New Jersey, Seamus Casey, or Simon Nemec, they don't really fit that role. They're good quality, valuable young defensemen, but they don't fit that same role that Buium does. So I think that makes a ton of sense, bringing him in. I think he has absolute ceiling. I could see him being as talented as Quinn Hughes in this league. I would say a fair comparison would be Josh Morrissey. I think that's where I kind of see him ending up. And so if you're trading Quinn Hughes and getting a guy like Morrissey back, that's not bad. Plus you get in the other assets. So yeah. I really liked that. Marco Rossi kind of thrown to the Wolves. Elias Pettersson's out right now, so he starts in first line center. What do you think about his game?
I wasn't, he didn't flash. He wasn't a flashy guy throughout the game, but talking to Mariah, that he's a guy that he's just very solid defensively as well, and that's something that he's a great two-way player already early on in his career. I had a shot on goal that Markstrom meant to make a pretty good save on. He was noticeable I'd say defensively, he was noticeable. He wasn't a guy that I was like, oh, where's Rossi? So, that's a good sign that he did make an impact. And of course, you said win the face-off. He won a few face-offs. He still has to work on that. And of course, the Canucks get a guy that still needs to work on face-offs, like most of their guys. They're not the best, but around 50% in his career, that's not horrible. So I mean, it's something that he'll improve on. Of course, young players always do. They don't start out very well. They kind of hopefully would improve on their face-off ability. So I was impressed with that. I've liked, like I said on the first video, I loved Rossi's game ever since he came into the league, and even in his draft year and his and all that. He's been an exciting player and a guy that could potentially be a very good fit in Vancouver long term. So I wasn't disappointed with what I saw in his first game either.
And I think a change of scenery would be really good for Rossi as well. Like I think not having he went through so much. He went through that heart condition. I don't know enough about that to really talk about it, but he went through the heart stuff. I think COVID had a big impact on him, and he missed almost a full year of playing hockey. He was very thankful to Minnesota when talking about that after the trade. But he went through that. There was the contract disputes. There's arguments about where he should be playing in the lineup. There was a lot of things. There was like a lot of animosity between him and the team. Whether it played an impact or not, I don't know. I'm not a fly on the wall. But I think that a fresh start certainly couldn't hurt. And I think that he's going to be, second line center is being handed to him at this point.
Yeah.
He's got every opportunity to thrive here. What about Liam Ohgren? What do you think about him? I mean, he's now 19 games into the season with no points. Not bringing him in to be a game breaker that way, but what do you think about him? I know you do a lot of prospect stuff too, so you'd be familiar. So what are your thoughts on bringing Liam Ohgren in?
Well, here's another guy that I followed since his draft year. I don't know if I wrote his prospect profile. I forget all the guys that I've written about, but I know I've liked him. He was part of that. Of course, I followed Jonathan Lekramaki in his draft year, and of course when he was drafted. He played with Ohgren throughout his junior and World Juniors, and very productive with them. And I was joking. It's like they need to get Noah Ostlund from Buffalo now, and then you can reunite that trio that was so dominant in Sweden and the World Juniors. They played together there. So his guy's a big guy. He's got some skill. There was one play in the game against the Devils where he tried to make some moves and almost got to the net. He has some good puck handling ability and seems to use his size well. I think that's a guy that could be a middle six contributor. I mean, maybe a 20-goal scorer. He's very young. Yes, he has no points this season, but not playing a lot. Even didn't play a lot in Minnesota. He was on the fourth line, with Max Sassone in this game. So, I mean, again, he started playing. I think he played a decent amount, though. It seemed like they were rolling the lines in this game. So I think over time he could be a really good piece for the Canucks as well.
Yeah, he was highly touted as a prospect. Sure, maybe he doesn't have that same value as when he was first drafted, but he's still he's got a high ceiling as well. And he could very well be maybe not to the Brock Besser level, but that kind of good top six winger. He could mold into that. Maybe a middle six is more realistic, but he still has the potential. And did you have any other comments about the game as a whole against the Devils? I watched the third period, and I gotta say the last 85 seconds of that game was so entertaining. Obviously the Canucks, you were probably sweating, but it was a very, very entertaining finish. Any other thoughts on the game you wanted to add?
Well, I mean, I think the Canucks got a bit in their first period was great. I think they were really restricting the Devils' speed through the neutral zone. They weren't giving them a lot, and then of course scored both goals were on the power play, which I mean that's something the Canucks have struggled lately. So Buium can maybe make. I was like Quinn Hughes was on that first unit, and I don't know, just a quick end to. I'm of course going to give final thoughts on Hughes, but. I think the power play started to become where you get Hughes the puck, and that's just keep giving him the puck, and he'll do everything. I didn't find that in these power plays. Buium was there, of course, but they didn't try to force him the puck all the time. He was just a facilitator, and I think Hughes started getting too much into that. I have to do everything myself, and on the power play, it seemed like that's the case. So, I mean, overall, I think the power play looked better in this game for sure. Second period, I think the Devils kind of took over a bit. And I got a little frustrated because the Canucks couldn't do the same thing where they weren't restricting the speed. And then all of a sudden the Devils are restricting their speed and through the neutral zone, they couldn't get anything going. So I ended up that Demko kind of held them and was a reason why they won 2-1. So that's a good sign. Demko didn't look very good in his last game or his return to the lineup. Looked more like himself today.
Good. So the Canucks get the win. They're still last in the standings, unfortunately, but it's a step in the right direction. So moving on from the game against the Devils, not going to the Devils is Quinn Hughes. So again, you talked about this with Mariah. We talked about the return already. But what are your final thoughts? Like the Quinn Hughes era is over. What do you want to tell the world?
Well, I mean, basically it's after, of course, we did this really quick after the trade. So that, of course, all this information starts trickling out over the next day or so from insiders and all that, where they start getting more of the background of it coming up. And we found out that Hughes basically said to management, I'm not re-signing. And this was apparently around November, American Thanksgiving. And that basically upped the Canucks, I guess, desperation level, maybe. I don't know. They wanted to get something done. And, when you're given that, of course, you have to move Hughes at the highest value. And they got a ridiculously good package. Of course, I detailed this. I was angry at the beginning. I was, frustrated that they had to trade him. But I understand it because of the fact that he wasn't going to come back. So, I mean, you need to get something for a guy like that. You can't let him go to free agency and that's it. And it seemed like I don't want to put anything. I've always loved Quinn Hughes' work ethic and his ability to step up, but it felt like the last, I'd say, few weeks, it looked like his effort level was like he was out the door already. He's like, I don't want to be here. I'm not going to try too much. Some defensive plays where you're like, usually he's right on that. It seemed like he was coasting, and that's not a good look. And was caught on video a few times where against the Avalanche was the most notable one. He just stopped skating. And that's something that Hughes never does. So, I mean, I think, he kind of was already out the door, and you need to move on from a, guy that's kind of maybe lost motivation. So, I mean, I understand it now. And the fact that the deal had to be made. So I think that's my final thoughts in it is that you move a guy, yes, as much as hard as to trade a superstar defenseman like that. They got the best package, I think, that you could get. I wasn't actually anticipating this many quality pieces in return. I thought at least a bad contract's going to have to be in it, and that didn't end up happening.
Yeah, I mean, you never win a trade when you're trading the best player. Like I look back to Erik Karlsson when he was traded. That sucked. Ottawa is always going to be the loser of that trade because they traded Erik Karlsson. That sucks. But they got Tim Stützle out of it. They got Josh Norris and now Dylan Cousins out of it. It's the same kind of thing. The value is actually really, really good for what they got. But you still trade away that franchise superstar, and it's always going to suck.
Yeah, for sure.
And I mean, I look at the Canucks, and they're 4-9-3 in the last month. That's awful. Like at some point in there, that's when Quinn Hughes said, "All right, like listen, I'm gone. You guys aren't doing enough around me. I don't believe in the future here. I'm gone. I'm not going to sign here." So everything that led to this is very unfortunate. But the fact that it had to be done, I would say that Jim Rutherford and Patrick Allvin did a very good job of getting this done and doing it now. Most general managers wouldn't have the balls to pull off a trade a year and a half ahead of when you really need to.
Yeah. I think the fact that Bill Guerin was like, he was the one that stepped up to the plate too. I mean, like there's a lot of other teams weren't willing to give what the Wild did. And Detroit obviously didn't want to trade Simon Edvinsson, or Axel Sandin-Pellikka, what I guess would be the other young type defenseman that would be part of that. So, Guerin's like, well, we have to give up something to get a guy like that. So, and we can afford to because their future, they still got some pretty good guys in their system. So, giving up a guy at Buium, they still got some really young type defensemen in their system. And of course, stud and Brock Faber already there. It's going to be, I think they were just willing to do what other teams weren't.
Yeah, and that's the big thing. I mean, is anybody surprised that of all people, it's Bill Guerin that's not afraid to do something? Like, that's just him. So I mean, the next question is, what's next? What do the Canucks do now? Where do they go from here? Do they keep blowing it up, or are they kind of good? Was that a good enough retool, just that one trade?
I think there's more to come, unless they go on a Blues type. All of a sudden, they're winning like 10 in a row and craziness. And then they're like, oh, maybe we can make the playoffs. Maybe this is how it goes. That could happen. But I think the path is basically you're looking at trading Kiefer Sherwood. You're looking at trading Evander Kane. Definitely those types of guys, because you can get for potentially, I mean, I don't know, Sherwood's value's kind of dropped off a little. I don't think the first round pick is a definite guarantee anymore for a guy like that. Kane, I think, is not a first round pick either. I think but you could get something quality for both of them. So I think those guys you definitely have to move, because I don't think Sherwood's coming back next season, because he seems to be, like we've talked about, his money is going to be pretty big, even though he doesn't, he drops off, whatever. But I think his value is still there. So, I mean, definitely those guys are on the block. I don't think, there's talk of Elias Pettersson is still, a possibility to be traded. Guys like, Garland, Besser, Demko, one of the goaltenders. Again, that could happen too. I think there's more trades on the way. I think that's just the bottom line. I don't think they're tearing down everything to make this whole team young. They're going to need some veterans to stay. I still think they need to pick a core, because really, who's the core right now? The young pieces that just came back, you could maybe say that, well, yeah, for sure, Buium's going to be part of that, and Rossi is definitely there. But they got to pick some guys and say, these are the guys we're building around now, because Quinn Hughes is not the centerpiece anymore.
And they've never done that. Like, even historically, they've done outside of the Sedins, which they were kind of forced to. But like, they can't pick a direction, and they can't pick that core group, and that's kind of the stem of most of their struggles. I mean, if you wanted to say that Elias Pettersson was your core player, like the guy you're going to build around, then why do you go get JT Miller and then let that go on for so long? Why do you go get Elias Lindholm? And yes, you need the center depth and whatever, but why do you keep going getting these centers and not build around Elias Pettersson's wings and get people that really work with him, and then fill in the supporting cast after? Like that, they just don't pick their guy.
Yeah. And they definitely have to do that now. I mean, if you are doing, and the word was made, I think Rutherford said rebuild, a word that he seems to have avoided. And his last presser was like, well, we're going through a rebuild. And it's like, you didn't say that a week ago or 2 weeks ago. So, I mean, if you're going through a rebuild, you have to choose some players you're rebuilding around. So, I mean, that just has to happen.
So Aquilini owes you a favor, and you get to say whether they move players like Garland and Besser. Are you going that far? Like, obviously, the moving Kane, moving Sherwood, like that, those are easy decisions. Yeah. Even maybe like Tyler Myers, that might be an easy decision. Like deadline assets that might not be coming back. So that's fine. The rest of the core pieces, so Pettersson, Besser, Garland. I don't think Hronik's going anywhere, but I'll throw him in there too. Would you consider moving these guys right now, or are those the guys that you keep?
Personally, I mean, I think Garland is a guy that you want to keep. If you want to change culture and keep, Garland is a culture guy. You keep him. And here's a guy that, like, there was a comment. I like this tweet one guy put out, is that Garland, this is something on really, you really think Garland, Demko, and them didn't think Hughes, there was this aura was around that he's not going to stay. And then they still re-sign. They still sign extensions to stay in Vancouver. That shows that they care about staying here. Those are the guys you keep. If you want to make a culture and, rebuild your culture, these are the guys you build around because they want to be here. And, Hughes didn't want to be here. JT Miller didn't want to be here. Rick Tocchet didn't want to be here. And it's like, you want guys that have the passion that they want to be with the team. And that is why I didn't like the Garland trade rumors, because it's like, this is a guy that wants to be here. You keep him. So I wouldn't trade him or Besser because these are guys that signed on for the long term.
My only rebuttal to that is, what are the promises that were made to them before the extensions? Was it going to be that if you guys sign, that's what's going to take us the step to be able to keep Quinn? Like, that's the only question I would have, is what were they told during negotiations about Quinn Hughes? Because obviously that would have come up. He is the direction of the franchise. So
it's true. And I mean, finish off that. I mean, Garland did come out, I think it was this morning or yesterday, that he's sad that Hughes was traded, because this is a guy that he was best friends with. His son, that's his godfather. So, I mean, that's something that's tough on Garland. So I don't know, that's a good point. Right. So we'll see on that.
Yeah. So, I mean, speaking of players in trade talks, Lukas Reichel is the only one that we know for sure at this point is gone out of Vancouver. We don't know that he's being traded necessarily, but like he cleared waivers today. He's going down to the AHL. Rick Dhaliwal is reporting that they're trying to trade him. I don't know if that means that teams now feel like they need to add an asset to be able to move him. What that means, he cleared waivers. Teams aren't lining up to pay a third-round pick, a fourth-round pick for a guy that just cleared waivers. But the Lukas Reichel experiment is over. It was a disaster. What now? Like, what do you see them doing about Reichel right now?
I mean, the trade it looks like they're trying, but I mean, like I commented before recording here, it's something that's, if a guy they didn't want to claim him off waivers, they're not going to now say, oh yeah, here's a pick. Like, I don't know, unless he's part of something else where you're adding him into another deal, with Kiefer Sherwood, say, you're adding him. Okay, we want something more. So here's Reichel as an add-on to sweeten the pot, I guess. I think that's the only way you get something more than a pick. And I think if there was going to be a trade made, it was happening before the waivers. But and having said that, they needed to clear a roster spot by making these trades with Ohgren. Rossi had to come off IR, so you had to have a roster spot. That's why Pettersson was put on IR to create another spot as well. So maybe they're forced to put him on waivers before they had time to maybe get a deal done. So, I mean, that could be a possibility. I think, but the experiment, I think it just quickly, the coaching staff didn't really, I don't know. It just didn't seem like he fit. And it was his defensive game that was really irked Adam Foote. So, I mean, and I just talked with Brooke of the Blackhawks team. And I said, she's like, what happened with him? I said, he struggles defensively and coaching staff's lost trust in him. And she's like, that is a storyline that happened in Chicago as well. So that's something that Reichel's going to have to fix. I think it's just going to keep following him around unless he improves his defensive game.
Right now, Lukas Reichel, he's reminding me a lot of somebody that this happened through the 2010s. That's a very vague description, but I'll give you one guess. Who do you think I'm thinking of?
Who did he play for?
Everybody.
Everybody.
Early was Tampa. Was it Tampa first? I don't know. I'm thinking of Anthony Duclair.
Oh, Duclair, yeah.
He's reminding me a lot of Anthony Duclair right now.
Rangers
who found himself to be
first team.
Which was it?
The Rangers.
The Rangers. That was it. Yes. Yeah. I just couldn't remember. He's been like 10 teams now, 9 teams. Yeah. It's impossible to follow the order. But it didn't work out. He started to break through when he got to Ottawa, and then he went to Florida, and then he did well there. Now he's with the Islanders. So like he'll find his game eventually. I think he has enough talent to get him more chances. But yeah, I mean it's same with Duclair. It was more about the work ethic with Duclair, I think, than necessarily the defensive ability. But Lukas Reichel just needs to figure that one thing out, and then I think he's gonna have a good future.
Yeah. Right now, I mean, he's in Abbotsford, and I mean, Abbotsford needs all the help they can get. Right now, they're I believe they're still last in the AHL because so many players are up in Vancouver. So I mean, they just can't get a good team together. But yeah, I think if Reichel can maybe, I mean, he's looked good in the AHL at time, in Chicago there. So yeah, we'll see how it all goes with him. But right now, I think his future in Vancouver is kind of murky. I don't think it's really here.
Yeah, there might not be a way back out of this one for him, but Matthew, thank you for joining me. This has been a great episode. Lots to talk about. Appreciate your thoughts on Quinn Hughes and the debuts from all the new players. Make sure to leave a comment and let us know what you think of the trade, what you think of their debuts, and we'll see you on the next episode.